Are the words about a pandemic at this point?
No, we're not at all, and we have it totally under control.
We think we have it very well under control. We pretty much shut it down. It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle, it will disappear. We can hold that down, as we're saying, to 100,000. It's a horrible number. We all together have done a very good job.
As the nation surpassed 4 million COVID cases and over 145,000 deaths this week.
It's something that we have tremendous control of. I think we're going to win faster than people think, I hope.
You're going to lose a number of people to the flu, but you're going to lose more people by putting a country into a massive recession or depression. The virus is going to disappear. I feel about vaccines like I feel about tests. This is going to go away without a vaccine.
The coronavirus itself, SARS-CoV-2, is here to stay.
As the U.S. surpasses a staggering 400,000 deaths, the incoming CDC director says another 100,000 could die in the next month.
It is what it is.
It's going to fade away. We're in very good shape.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your response to this crisis?
I'd rate it at 10. I think we've done a great job.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Big, massive dump.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Wednesday. Got a great show for y'all. Thank you, Raiders, by the way. TYT with the raid of 248. Thank you all for joining. We're just starting the show. We got some fun stuff. Already, some are like, hey, don't call her MTG. Okay, you're doing a disservice to Magic Gathering. I hear you. I appreciate you. I love you. But her name is too long. Her name is way too long. You gotta shorten it, or it's not gonna fit. Yeah. So, but nonetheless, we got a great story. We got Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that basically a woman's only worth is to carry babies. Not surprising. Not surprising. We got Laura Ingraham lying. Oh, once again, I'm gonna break that down and why she is, of course, wrong. As always, Kyrsten Sinema is garbage, and then I'm going to talk about Assange. So I know some of you are like interested in me talking about Assange. Others are like, okay, who cares? Well, I still think it's important because I haven't actually talked about it yet. So I'm going to go through and give you, some of the details, some of which you probably already know, but I want to go through the details anyway and really give my opinion on all this stuff. So we're going to do that. That should be fun. Let's do it. Actually, yeah. Now let's do it. Let's dive in. A little bit of hesitation there. Weird. That's not like me. Laura Ingraham Hamburglar. Nice. By the way, thank you for all the new follows. I really appreciate that. We do the show every day, 4 p.m. Eastern, and just about every day. 4 p.m. Eastern, so we always have fun topics. Thank you for joining us on Twitch, as well as on YouTube, Facebook. I love you all. Let's do it. Former Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham has been spilling lots of tea about her time at the Trump White House. Now, for me personally, it has been wildly entertaining. Wildly. One of the things, however, that's not quite as entertaining is the culture in Washington under Donald Trump, specifically the culture of sexual harassment. So I'm going to be super real here and not just point at the Trump administration on that. Understand that sexual harassment exists in so many different places of power. I mean, you got Andrew Cuomo, you had Bill Clinton, Harvey Weinstein, Matt Lauer, Bill O'Reilly, Roger Ailes. So none of the things pointed out, honestly, about sexual harassment in the White House were really all that shocking. That said, especially, of course, considering the Access Hollywood tape in 2016 about Trump, despite all that, understand that Grisham likes to climb the clout ladder and was very successful at it, by the way, even becoming press secretary, a press secretary who held absolutely no press conferences whatsoever. And now Chris Cuomo, yes, as you point out, as well. So despite all that, as I said, you have all of these, different people that have, done these things and done sexual harassment. And so women generally, and especially in places of power, face a very difficult situation, right? A very difficult environment to get and amass power in. And that's the unfortunate truth in reality. Now, again, Grisham, despite all that, climbed that ladder, and she became very successful. And now that she's no longer part of the administration, the former administration, as I said, she has been spilling the tea. And I love it. So now I think her story is believable. I believe the things that she says. Why? Because if you combine that with all the knowledge that we already had on Donald Trump and the disaster that was his administration, the different leaks that had come out, tumultuousness of the White House that he ran, and just general knowledge about the person, you believe it. So now the longtime White House staffer had described the president in her book who objectified a press aide, certainly not one of the worst things that he's ever done, and unsettled her with denials that he had raped magazine columnist E. Jean Carroll back in the 90s, and once called Grisham to talk about how his penis wasn't small or weird. Fun. So now Grisham, for example, wrote that Trump was allegedly so obsessed with a young female press aide that he once requested she be brought onto Air Force One so he could, quote, look at her behind, according to the Washington Post and New York Times. Trump also told Grisham to promote her to keep her happy so that he could, I would assume, continue to look at her behind. Because of course. On another occasion, after Stormy Daniels said in an interview that Trump's penis looked like a toadstool, I'm sorry, Grisham says that Trump called her to assure her that his penis was, in fact, not shaped like a toadstool or small. I don't want to imagine that conversation, but we're probably going to anyway. But you gotta, why bring that up? Why would you say that? Why would you do that? This is not something that normal people actually do. You don't just slip that into a conversation or make that the centerpiece of the conversation. Oh yeah, by the way, my cock, totally normal shaped. It doesn't look like a mushroom at all. In fact, it's it is both tremendous and normal, but big, but very, very normal and big. Did I mention big and normal? Her response being, of course, yes, sir. And one of those things that I think women in the workplace have to, or I shouldn't say have to, but I think traditionally have put up with for the sake of keeping their jobs, which is incredibly sad and a super, a gigantic indictment of the system and how pervasive sexual harassment is in the workplace. But that response is just a woman going, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to get fired. I don't want to deal with this. Yes, sir. Sure, absolutely. Whatever you say. Great. But again, if you're having that conversation with someone, with anyone, you are definitely insecure. There is something going on down there for sure, but it ain't tremendous. Now, something a lot less amusing, of course, is another incident that had been detailed. This is after E. Jean Carroll had sued Trump for that alleged rape. After she came forward, he, of course, in Trumpian fashion, decided to slander her in a million different ways. But what he said to Grisham about it apparently unsettled her. Here's what he said, quote, you just deny it. That's what you do in every situation, right, Stephanie? You just deny it. Oh, well, that's it. You just deny it. Deny, deny, deny. That's it. That's all you got to do. And then it goes away magically, right? No, it doesn't go away. But if you're, look, again, the unfortunate truth here is if you're wealthy or allegedly wealthy and powerful and well-known, very likely you're not going to get in trouble, or you're going to get a reduced sentence if you actually do end up getting caught. You look at Cosby and all that. It's a sad state of affairs, really. Women do not get treated well at all in the workplace especially when it comes to sexual harassment or rape and things like that. And it is, as I said, pretty sad. So now, all that being terrible, that kind of begs the question of why she would even stay for that long. Honestly, I mean, there's a couple of different answers to that. None of them are great, but a lot of them do tend to, I think, mix and coincide and to explain her decision. For one, and I'm going to agree with slightly with her detractors for a second and say that, yeah, she did want money. Yeah, of course. Money, clout, and a payday. Of course. And here's the thing. This shouldn't be surprising to anybody because everybody in Washington wants the same thing. You don't generally jump into politics without any sort of desire to get money, clout, and power. And again, this is part of why Washington is a cesspool, a disaster. And so, and she likely knew that and was like, all right, whatever, means to an end. I'll put up with it. I'm going to climb that ladder. And she did until January 6th. The insurrection attempt was her line. But anyway, and again, that's the culture in Washington and in circles of power where you have influential men that get away with being complete and utter shitlords, because I think there are women out there that feel that they have to play the game in order to get their own power, or else they're going to get shut out. I think, as I said before, an indictment of the system more than anything. I think that makes some women in power feel like they have to play that game. They have to deal with this in order to get their own power. It's not right at all. It's not right at all. So that being the case, I don't think at this point Grisham actually cared about other women. I think she only really got upset when it affected her personally. Because again, everything was fine up until January 6th. Then that was the final straw. Now, in the president's denials of this, which were, of course, hilarious, the barely knew her, the coffee girl, disgruntled employee, there is that kernel of truth, as I mentioned. And, of course, there was the payday, as I talked about before. That's what it's always been about for some of these people. And what better way to do it now than to just show people that, what we had already expected to be the reality inside the Trump White House. So, hey, tell them the truth and making a buck. Well, I mean, unfortunately, that's the situation. Nothing about any of this feels good. It feels terrible. It really does. But you might as well get it all out in the open. The sunlight is the best disinfectant, right? And believe me, we need very, very much disinfectant. Perhaps we should even inject it. No, don't do that, please. Let's not. All right. Anyway. But yeah, y'all are 100% right. Moving on, let's go to Laura Ingraham. A little COVID news. Fox host Laura Ingraham has recently came out with a pretty big whopper of a lie. I know, everybody, it's my shocked face, right? Super shocked. But her lie basically is that hospitals that were overwhelmed with COVID patients weren't really overwhelmed with COVID patients. That is until their stupid vaccine mandates. Take a look.
Think about the insanity of this for a moment. The politicians and the public health officials who ordered us, begged us to stay home, to wear masks, to cancel church, sports, forego weddings, all the other things you like to do, in order to save the healthcare system, they're now the ones actively sabotaging the healthcare system. Kind of makes you think this wasn't about saving the hospitals right from the outset, was it? Of course, we now know that when they say the hospitals, though, are being overwhelmed, it's almost always a lie. With the exception of a few big city hospitals in the U.S., our hospital system was stretched for sure, but it was never overwhelmed. And with the Delta variant, any hospitals that were stretched usually found themselves in that situation due to staffing shortages created by their stupid vaccine mandates.
You notice that? Did you notice the graphic she had? Create the crisis, take the power. What is that? Like that's like the conspiracy. Like, oh, you created the COVID crisis, and now you're gonna use it to take power. Oh, that's what dictators do. Blah, blah. Classic conspiracy mongering by Fox News. Wonderful. Great. You know, as if this isn't already big enough of a problem. But let's go to the substance of what she says, or I should say the lack thereof. You know, the hospital system, it was stretched back during the, winter surge, but overwhelmed. Well, no, of course not. I mean, until vaccine mandates. So, that was a real problem. Yeah. No, the whole problem, I'm sorry, not the problem. She is the problem. The whole problem is we have anti-vaxxers, even in the medical field, that are refusing to get their vaccine. That's the entire problem. But the point of the vaccine mandate for hospital workers is so that they do not catch and transmit the virus to their patients or take it home. Now, again, this is this gigantic push by the right wing to say, natural immunity. Oh, but you can still get COVID, get COVID if you've had the vaccine. Yeah, yes, this is true. You can still get the virus if you have been vaccinated. Yes, it's called a breakthrough infection. It's also incredibly rare. You can still also get COVID if you've had it before. You can get COVID twice. Get COVID more than once. So I don't know what the whole natural immunity thing is on the right wing, like what their fascination is with it. Because, I mean, in order to get your natural immunity, you actually have to have had the virus. And for nearly 700,000 Americans, that has been fatal. They didn't make it, which is why you're supposed to get the vaccine. But anyway, so now the other part is to get, the vaccine mandate is so that you don't take it home and infect family members. Or, of course, if you avoid getting it in the first place, which the vaccine helps, then you don't have to quarantine, take time off, which makes your staffing shortage worse. And again, here's the thing. Laura Ingraham is making it sound like this this staffing shortage is new and as a result of vaccine mandates, which is not true at all. There has been a staff shortage since at least last year, even before, during the times we were hit the hardest with COVID-19. And it's still bad in hard-hit areas, and has been. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that, by the way. A lot of healthcare workers actually got sick and died. Since March of last year, the CDC says that over 565,000 healthcare workers got COVID. Some of them might have gotten long COVID. Some of them suffered organ damage or work anymore. Some of them might have just quit because of a result of, having to deal with the massive stresses and the disaster that was this pandemic. 1,800 died, and there are suggestions that these numbers are actually undercounted. So understand that people, yes, get sick, they miss work, they die as a result of getting COVID. That is the whole point of the vaccine mandates. That is part of your staff shortage right there. But understand that she's also wrong about rural hospitals. Remember, she pointed out specifically, there's no problem here. There's no, issue with hospitals being overwhelmed. Only in the big cities, only in New York, only in LA, all the big liberal bags, those are the ones having the problems. Not rural hospitals. They're absolutely fine. They're great. No, she's wrong. She's absolutely wrong. In fact, in places with high COVID transmission rates, i.e. the red states, You have hospitals that don't have enough staff or beds to keep up with the cases. In fact, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, director of the CDC, told CBS News' Face the Nation that there are some part of the countries in which their healthcare systems are, quote, in dire straits. Quote, they are running out of beds. For example, in Idaho, Minidoka Memorial Hospital. This is in rural Idaho. This is not in Boise, right? It's a very, very small town. KPTV B7 News reports that in Rupert, Idaho, the COVID-19 pandemic has taken a serious toll on both large and small hospitals alike. Quote, this is Kelsey Phillips, an emergency room charge nurse at Minidoka Memorial Hospital. We have beds in the hallway here and oxygen tanks up to them because their stats are low and they need oxygen now. It's never been pure chaos like it is now. No, well, hold on here. This is a rural hospital. I thought this was supposed to be untouched, completely untouched, only in the big hospitals where they have their stupid mandates. Here's what she says. She continues by saying, some days when you're here, it's all you can do to get out of one set of PPE to the next, to go to the next room, to try to take a big breath in and gasp and go into the next room. Phillips said emergency rooms are constantly full of COVID-19 patients, and the waiting rooms are overflowing as well. The small hospital has 30 beds available for COVID-19 patients and only one single ICU bed. So, you know, you get seriously ill with COVID, you're screwed. And not to mention any of the other things that you go traditionally to a hospital for, you know, heart attack, stroke, etc. Well, I mean, those people, they're not going to have beds. They don't have beds. No places to go. She also said, it is scary because we've never had to do this before. And, you know, every life matters to us. We can only do what we humanly possibly can do with the resources we have. And on top of COVID, we have other emergencies. Now, to point out, or I should say, to really go back to Ingram's argument that it's not COVID. No, it's not a big problem at these rural hospitals, right? More than 95% of the patients being treated for COVID-19 at Minidoka Memorial Hospital are unvaccinated. It's almost as if, you know, this crisis would be averted if everybody had their vaccine. Because Minidoka Memorial Hospital only has one ICU bed, patients in need of higher levels of care are often sent to large hospitals in Boise, Twin Falls, or Pocatello. However, those hospitals are also full. Out-of-state hospitals have told Minidoka they cannot accept new patients. Yeah, so what happens? You're screwed. That's what happens. And look, it's not just there. You have Alaska, for example. They adopted rationing of care. Other hospitals are considering the same all over the country. This is not a result of the mandates. This is a result of people not vaccinating and then getting sick enough to require hospitalization, the whole thing that the vaccine is supposed to prevent. Again, just about all the hospitalizations are among the unvaccinated. Gee, I don't know. I think we might have found the problem. Yeah, but no. Laura says, no, it's the mandates. The mandates are the real problem. It's because of the mandates, the staff are quitting. Again, you've got handfuls of staff, generally nurses, which is unfortunate. But again, because you're a nurse doesn't mean you're necessarily... So look, let me just say this. I love nurses. Nurses are wonderful, and they're very, very necessary. But just because you're a nurse doesn't necessarily mean that you can't fall victim to or fall prey to disinformation. Okay, so that's very important. Even smart people or well-educated people can believe in stupid things, can fall prey to disinformation and misinformation and conspiracies. So let's just point that out, okay? But again, I don't think they would need as many staff or as many beds if you had more people who were vaccinated, because they wouldn't require hospitalization. And by the way, you're also seeing these hospitals get overwhelmed because there are people that have held off treatment for so long during these COVID blitzes that they can't wait any longer, and they don't have COVID, but they have to go in and get medical work done, medical care. So in reality, unvaccinated people caused this problem. People pushing anti-vax conspiracies caused this problem. People like Laura Ingraham and Tucker Carlson caused this problem. People who, by the way, work at a company that was requiring vaccine passports long before Joe Biden's mandate on big corporations and federal employees. And it's not even that strong of a mandate. You have the option to get tested. Like, oh my God, oh wow, what a mandate. And what happens when you don't do it? The company gets fined. And I have no idea how they're even going to enforce that. So, and besides, it's only for companies over 100 employees. You don't want to do it? Well, then don't, find another job. What do conservatives always tell you? You don't like your job? You don't like the rules? All right, well, go find another job. Go find another job. Just go do it. You know what? If you really want to avoid taking the vaccine, why don't you just stay home? Just stay home. And the problem with anti-vaxxers is, yes, they have a choice not to vaccinate. We're not going to jab needles into their arms. I'm never going to advocate doing this by force. I think that is a violation of, a person's bodily autonomy if you've got jackbooted thugs coming to your door with needles in their arms. No, nobody's in favor of that. And I don't even personally care if you don't want to vaccinate, fine. What I care about is if you're not going to, then stay home. Stay home. That's it. Stay home. I don't want your damn virus. Stay home. Now, the problem with the anti-vaxxers is, well, not only do they not choose to stay home, but they choose to engage in the activities that are high risk for everyone else and themselves. They're like the drunk driver, except that we're locked in the car with them. If they get into a crash, guess what? Guess who's affected? We are. You get plastered and drive your car, chances are you're going to hit somebody or kill them. You get COVID, chances are very likely, especially with the Delta variant, that you're going to spread it to other people and possibly kill someone else. Much higher than if you've been vaccinated. It doesn't just affect you. If it did, I wouldn't give a goddamn what you do. But it does. Vaccines are basically your seatbelt and airbags. Do they work 100% of the time? No. And you can still crash and you can still get hurt, but the chances are those things will actually save your life. They're going to save your life. So Laura Ingraham is a bullshit artist. She is ironically killing her own audience, and that's how little these people actually care about them, by the way. This is pathological. And they get away with it by screaming things about, freedom, knowing that you can't really be free if you're dead. My idea of freedom is not getting winded going up the stairs from COVID lung damage or being drowned in medical debt because I refuse a free vaccine. Medical treatment, by the way, it costs an average of $20,000 to $40,000 to get treated for COVID, depending on where you are. This isn't about freedom. They're not about freedom. They're about being stupid. Just say. All right. Let's go to Kyrsten Sinema. Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema is being called out. She is right now the face of the Democratic Party's holdouts pushing against the $3.5 trillion human infrastructure package. Now, that package includes expanding Medicare to include vision and dental, child care, a couple years of free community college, allowing the government to negotiate drug prices, pharmaceutical companies, making investments in fighting climate change, free child care. Again, among many other good things. Now, are they amazing things? No, not necessarily. I mean, you don't have Medicare for all in there, for example, or free college for everyone or cancellation of student debt. But for what it is, yeah, I would say it's pretty good and something that's going to help a lot of people. And so, yeah, I'm absolutely in favor of it. Now, that said, this was basically everything in the Biden agenda that was left out of the bipartisan pro-corporate deal. So these pieces of legislation would actually be a gigantic investment when it comes to social spending and much needed physical infrastructure. Both things, again, are necessary and very popular with the American people. But corporations don't like the human infrastructure one. No. Corporations, since corporations use this physical infrastructure, they're in favor of only the bipartisan infrastructure deal. So now that said, this is why Joe Biden has apparently been pushing Sinema and Manchin and others to support it. So you need every Democrat to be on board, or else this is not going to get through reconciliation. Simple as that. Politico reported yesterday that during a private meeting with the president, Sinema had made clear that she is still not on board with the party's $3.5 trillion social spending plan and is hesitant to engage on some specifics until the bipartisan infrastructure package passes the House, according to a person who spoke with her. So now the corporate bill, understand the corporate bill has already passed the Senate. If they bring up the corporate bill first in the House, that's it. Progressives completely lose their leverage. Gone. We're done for. That's all we're going to get, or some super, super incredibly watered down version of the $3.5 trillion reconciliation package. And so that's not going to be good for anybody, really, except for the corporations. So now Politico added that, quote, Sinema has problems with both the price tag and some of the tax increases devised to pay for it, but has given no specifics on the number that she would support. So this is a good example of failure of mainstream media. They're writing articles where they're like, I just don't know. Kyrsten Sinema, what a mystery. What a mystery wrapped in an enigma. You know, we just can't figure her out. Any idiot can go and type in, go to Open Secrets, and you look at the industry donations to Kyrsten Sinema, and immediately it becomes very, very clear what is driving her decision to block the infrastructure bill. It's the money, Lebowski. So understand, this entire situation is not Democrats negotiating amongst themselves. It is Democrats negotiating with their donors. And Kyrsten Sinema is the face of the donors. She is representing the donors. Weirdly enough, now you have establishment other corporate Democrats versus these two, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. It is a situation that I've never seen before. And I don't know what way it's going to shake out. But as I said before, Manchin and Sinema this time are the rotating villains. So again, they've been chosen to represent the donors. Sinema, for example, has received about $750,000 in legal campaign bribes from the pharmaceutical industry and over $900,000 from industry groups and large corporations, according to OpenSecrets.com. So for those who are unfamiliar with the site, basically it tracks industry donations to politicians. It's a wonderful, wonderful resource to use in order to look up who is funding your favorite or your not favorite politician. So now, of course, as I said, she is against anything that threatens the corporate profit margins for these industries, which is why earlier this week, Sinema actually held a fundraiser with lobbying groups who are trying to kill the reconciliation package. In fact, it was reported that on Tuesday, she met with business groups that have criticized the proposed tax increases. In an invitation emblazoned on Sinema's campaign logo, the groups invited members to an undisclosed location for 45 minutes on Tuesday to write checks between $1,000 and $5,800 to Sinema's campaign. The groups are amid countless business associations that have launched a massive lobbying blitz in hopes of defanging the Democratic spending package or perhaps defeating it altogether. And understand that if they don't vote for it, if Manchin and Sinema don't vote for it, it will not go through reconciliation. It's not going to happen unless magically somehow you have Republicans. Now, Republicans, are you kidding me? They're never going to support this. Absolutely never going to support this. So now, let me give you some of the business organizations. One group is called the S Corp PAC, which supposedly represents small businesses and yet overwhelmingly donates to Republican politicians. Another lobbying group, the National Association of Wholesaler Distributors, also almost exclusively funds Republicans. And those aren't the only groups. So my question, of course, why is she taking money from Republican donors? Oh, again, as I said before, it's about the money. It's about the money. Now, of course, this does not sit well with other members of her party, especially the progressives. In fact, the Arizona Democratic Party on Saturday overwhelmingly passed a resolution threatening to vote no confidence in Sinema if she continues to, quote, delay, disrupt, or votes to gut the spending plan. Democratic organizer Kai Newkirk told the Daily Beast that activists who helped elect Sinema in 2018, quote, have had enough of her betraying the voters, put her in office. Yeah, I mean, if anyone is a sellout, it's her. 100%. So now I want to show you another video here. This is Ro Khanna on CNN, and I've got a couple of problems with it, but they are going to discuss Sinema blocking this package. Take a look.
She is sort of seen as on the other side of where you are on this. She's one of the moderate Democratic senators trying to work out a deal from the other side. Have you gotten any word about whether there might be any breakthroughs tonight?
John, the president has already won me over. I'm on his side, as, by the way, is 99% of the Democratic Party. All of the folks at the White House know we're being reasonable, and literally one senator, Kyrsten Sinema, is holding up the will of the entire Democratic Party.
What has she said that she wants, as far as you know?
That's the question. The president keeps begging her, tell us what you want. Put a proposal forward. You see the progressives. Look at what we've compromised on. We went from $6 trillion to $3.5 trillion. Then they said we need to pass a bill in the Senate first. We said, even if you come up with an agreement, that's fine. Then they said, go below $3.5 trillion. We said, okay, we're willing to negotiate. Front load the benefits. Let's talk about the years. We are willing to compromise. How do you compromise, John, when Sinema is not saying anything? And what's mind-boggling is you have unanimity in the House. Tomorrow the Speaker could get a deal in the House on a number, and I believe you have 48 senators. I believe Senator Manchin would come on board. It's important for people to realize this. This is not progressives versus moderates. This is the entire Democratic Party and Joe Biden versus Kyrsten Sinema.
All right, so again, I got problems with that. There is the framing, of course, from CNN, and then there's just an incredibly weak answer from Ro Khanna, and I'm going to explain why. But first, he says this. No, I mean, the president keeps begging her. I mean, what do you want? What do you want? Put us a number. Put us a number. Put a proposal forward. She doesn't have one. You know why? Because she's not interested in one. She doesn't want it to pass. She doesn't want it to pass at all. At all. Now, this is reporter Zachary Carter. Here's what he tweeted about this. CNN framing this exactly wrong. Ro Khanna is right. Sinema hasn't been trying to make a deal or resolve some intra-party dispute. He's single-handedly holding up the entire agenda and won't even say why. Well, again, what everybody seems to miss is that she doesn't have to have a reason. She doesn't have to. What she's doing is basically, and by reason I mean policy reason, because there is no actual policy reason that she would oppose it. The reason she opposes it is because of the money. Now, I want to address this as well. He says, oh, this isn't progressives versus the moderates. First of all, Kyrsten Sinema is not a moderate. She's a corporatist. That's it. She's a corporatist. And understand that progressives have been, annoyingly so, very supportive of negotiation, of giving up some of the things that are in this bill. No, don't do that. Again, they're not holding this up with so-called unreasonable demands. No, this is corporate Democrats. This is corporate Democrats, the rotating list of villains that are out there that are trying to put a stop to Biden's agenda. And I'm sorry, but again, she has been chosen by those donors to tank Biden's agenda. Pure and simple. In the House, you've got other people that operate the same role. There's Josh Gottheimer. They have these, Henry Cuellar, another one, corrupt corporate Democrat. Understand that these are corporate stooges that have absolutely no core, no soul, and will do anything they can in order to help the donors. It is so much easier in our system to block something that is good than to pass something that is good. That's why you almost never see good things pass unless there is a super majority, or more likely what you see is something that helps corporate America, corporations, and the wealthy. That's it. That's it. And so this is the fundamental problem here in our system of government. You add in, of course, the money, the corruption, and the fact that mainstream media chooses not to get it. No, they understand the problem perfectly. Oh, only an idiot doesn't see this. But they choose to ignore it. The money in politics. That dictates that we cannot have nice things that are deeply popular with the American people. And again, the fact that the media doesn't get this is not an accident. They do this on purpose because, it is always about the money. It is always about corporations. They're the establishment media. And they will always represent the Beltway thinking, which is overwhelmingly filled with rich people and lobbyists. It's always been about the money. And I wish, by the way, one more criticism of Ro Khanna. I wish more progressives would openly say that. Call out the corruption. For God's sake, stop pulling your punches. You know this. Why don't you call them out for being corrupt? That's what's happening. It's corruption. Ro Khanna, call her corrupt. Please call Kyrsten Sinema corrupt. She is not your friend. She is not going to work with you. She's actively damaging what, the very slim majority that we have in Congress. If this does not get done, Democrats will lose in the midterms. 100%. 100%. Call her out. Call her out. She is being corrupt. Stop saying, I have no idea why she's against Biden's agenda. She won't say anything. She won't say anything. No, she's against it because she's gotten paid. Bought and sold to the highest bidder. Please, stop. Stop messing around. Okay? Stop. Stop. Take the gloves off. Stop playing nice and stop playing patty cakes with these corrupt stooges and actually call it what it is. It is corruption. Am I clear now? I'm clear. Okay. Move on. Go to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene says the federal government should ban all abortion because forcing women to carry an unwanted fetus will make them better people in the long run. Take a look.
And if we really care about women, like we say we do, then we should be telling women that the best thing they can ever do in their whole life is to be a mother. Being a mother is the greatest thing I have ever done in my whole life. No matter what I do my entire life, I will never do anything greater than being a mother. It is a true gift. Whether a pregnancy is planned, whether the baby is born perfectly healthy or not, being a mother is life-changing, life-altering, and makes women better people.
No, it actually doesn't. Case in point, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's a mother and is also an awful person. So, look, opinions on motherhood aside, which, again, 100% should be your choice. That's why we are literally pro-choice. She is basically saying that, oh, no, I believe that daddy government should be in control of your body because it will make you a better person to have to raise a kid for the next 18 years. Oh, Bill's character. That's why you should be forced to do, though. If you get pregnant, you should be forced to it. What about the people who aren't fit to be parents? What about people who don't want to be parents. Should they not have the choice to not become parents? Well, in Marjorie Taylor Greene's world, they wouldn't have the choice. They would be forced to it. And again, says nothing about rape or incest, which by definition is not a choice, and not something a woman should have to live with for the rest of her life. And by the way, who is she to tell women what the best thing in their lives should be? Oh yeah, I think the best thing in our lives is to raise children. Well, that's like your opinion, man. And that's fine. If you hold that opinion, good for you. You shouldn't be forcing that opinion on other people. And that's the issue, right? And if you've made that decision yourself, great, wonderful. I'm happy for you. I know a lot of people who love being a parent and do believe that it's the best thing that they've ever done, or one of the best things they've ever done. No problem with that. That's totally, totally fine. Great. And of course, I know some parents who don't exactly love it, but of course love their children, and understand that this is not an easy job. This is not a job that you need to foist on people who don't want that job. You know what I'm saying? I mean, who are you to tell someone else what they should be doing with their lives and their bodies? And by the way, if you're one of those anti-vaxxers that's like, ha-ha, oh, hypocritical left. Oh, first of all, nonsense. Your arguments are stupid. It's not the same. Nobody is forced, as I said, to get a vaccine. I'm not in favor of forcing people to get a vaccine. And understand that pregnancies are not the same as viruses. They're not contagious like viruses. And by the way, if you're going to make a comparison between this and being anti-vax, my body, my choice, right? Are you actually saying that babies are viruses? Are you making that comparison? Because that's weird. That's very strange. I'm not making that comparison. You're making that comparison. So my body, my choice doesn't really make sense. Doesn't really apply here. Because again, when it comes to viruses, it's not just your body being affected like it is up to a certain stage in pregnancy. And that stage, of course, is viability. Viability is a factor. Now, after it is viable and can survive unassisted outside the womb, then it is considered an independent life. So meaning we already have limits on when a pregnancy can be aborted, when it can be terminated. So, and that limit, of course, is viability. So now, don't try that shit, that argument. You're going to look stupid. You're going to look like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Do you want to look like Marjorie Taylor Greene? I don't think so. I don't think so. But there's more to it. So now, she's going to come back and say even more lies about what happens to you if you get an abortion. Oh.
And these abortions, like you just mentioned, these are actually things that can scar your body. They hurt you internally. And they not only that, they scar your soul. And women have to live with this. We should care for women, love for women, and teach them, you know, how to care for themselves. And that would be being proud to be a mom.
So how does caring for someone 18 plus years equate to caring for yourself? I mean, that's parenthood. You give up your entire life to take care of another person. And again, I'm not saying that as a bad thing or a good thing. I'm saying that as a statement of fact. To be a parent means that your life changes dramatically because now you have this other person to raise and to teach well and to take care of and all that stuff and all the good and bad that goes along with it, right? So it's a very interesting statement that she makes about this. But let me ask, okay? So now you think about this, right? And you think about where that framing comes from. And you realize that she and conservatives really see women only as breeding stock. First and foremost. Anything else that they are, and she said it herself, being a mom is number one. That's a very top thing. It's the very best thing that you could ever do in your life is to become a mother. That's the biggest goal that they think that you should have. Not to become successful at your career, run a business, own a business, lead a political movement, make scientific discoveries, all of which, of course, you could do that and be a parent as well. It's just very difficult to do so, especially in this world, in this country where we don't have paid leave for families, where we don't have, affordable childcare for people, where we have insane educational costs. And on all these different factors, that actually make this country very hostile to raising children, ironically. In fact, if they actually made our welfare state a little bit more generous, there would be less need or reasons for having abortion. But anyway, no, but again, going back to their ideology, no, they believe that women only have a specific purpose, and that's for breeding babies. Of course, that's part of why they are so anti-trans and anti-gay as well. Because for them, well, you know, if you can't breed babies, then we don't consider you women. We don't consider you. And by the way, does that extend to women who are unfortunately are unable to conceive of children due to medical issues? Are they not women considered to you? I mean, you know, that's the question, right? Oh, what defines a woman? Obviously making babies for them, right? And there are people out there who can't. And it's the dehumanization. Dehumanization, okay? But again, for them, that's your worth. Literally saying the best thing, the only thing, the best, greatest thing that you could ever do is be a mom. And I think that diminishes every other accomplishment in a woman's life. But all they do is they see you as a woman as a walking womb. So it's an incredibly terrible misogynistic standard. And by the way, going back to, again, some of the things that she had said that were absolute lies. Well, we should ban abortion because it scars your soul. Well, I'm pretty sure that that would be not a good argument in court for the constitutionality of an abortion ban. Scars your soul. That's why we should ban it. Yeah, no, because we're not based on the Bible. We're not based on religion. You have a separation of church and state. And what you're calling for is clearly unconstitutional. So. All right. Assuming you believe in the soul. That's a good point. Good point. All right, one more story. Go to Assange. Completely idiotic statement. How is she able to look into a mirror? She just says, nailed it. Everything she does, nailed it. All right. Let's go to story here. Recently, we learned that former CIA Director Mike Pompeo had wanted to kidnap and even murder Julian Assange. So this is a result of a Yahoo News investigation conducted by Zach Dorfman, Sean Naylor, and Michael Isikoff. So again, this was a pretty big investigation here based on conversations with more than 30 former U.S. officials, and it reveals for the first time one of the most contentious intelligence debates of the Trump presidency and their war against WikiLeaks and leaks in general. And you remember during the Trump administration, this guy hated leaks. Oh, get the leakers. We got to go after the leakers. Oh, the leakers. They're the worst thing ever. We need to shut down the leakers. Now, what happened? I thought during the election during 2016, you loved WikiLeaks. So let me just point out, by the way, that I've been in favor of WikiLeaks the entire time. You know why? Because I've been consistent in the fact that they're a journalistic organization. They take and they release things that governments want to hide. And generally, when the government wants to hide something, it's usually pretty bad. Usually. So I'm in favor of that transparency. And so when the Obama administration tried to shut down Julian Assange, I was against the Obama administration. When the Trump administration tried to do that, the same thing, I've also been against the Trump administration. And if the Biden administration continues that track, then I'm going to be against the Biden administration on the same thing. It's called being consistent. Okay? So now, that said, the Obama administration was not in favor. They used the Espionage Act to go after whistleblowers. For example, they went after Edward Snowden. They went after Chelsea Manning. And a lot of the case that the Trump administration actually went after WikiLeaks for and Assange was actually related to the stuff the Obama administration went after WikiLeaks and Assange for, the collateral murder video released by Chelsea Manning. And so the Obama administration, as I said, they went after whistleblowers pretty aggressively and actually had opened the door for the Trump administration to try to do something worse. I mean, and honestly, we didn't see that one coming. It's the same thing with the drone program, for example. The drone program under Obama had ramped up, over the Bush era program. And then, of course, the Trump administration ramped it up even further. And so we ended up having even more civilian casualties as a result of drone strikes. And even now, in the Biden administration, the recent drone strike where 10 people were killed, 7 of them children. One was an aid worker outside of Kabul during the pullout of Afghanistan. And so the drone program continues to be disastrous. And yet there hasn't really been that much of a change. But that's just an example to show you how these things have escalated from the Obama administration into the Trump administration and then continues into the Biden administration. And so the same thing in regards to WikiLeaks and Julian and the treatment of Julian Assange. But again, the whole irony, of course, is that Julian Assange had actually helped Donald Trump through those leaked emails, Hillary Clinton's leaked emails, of course, where even Pompeo was like, "Oh, great! We're getting these emails. We're getting the dirt on the DNC. Oh man, we love that stuff. Yeah, release more emails." And look, I think the emails should have been released. I covered the emails. I talked about the emails and how there was a public and private face with Hillary Clinton, et cetera, the corruption of the DNC, working with CNN in order to boost Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders. The hatred towards Bernie Sanders by the establishment, all that stuff is still incredibly important and still very relevant. And yet, weirdly enough, after Trump gets into office, as a result, partly of these WikiLeaks disclosures, now the CIA is like, take the gloves off, we're coming for Assange. From the article, some senior officials inside the CIA and the Trump administration had discussed killing Assange, going so far as to request sketches or options for how to assassinate him. Discussions over kidnapping or killing Assange occurred at, quote, the highest levels of the Trump administration, said a former senior counterintelligence official. There seem to be no boundaries. Understand that what they're doing is they're talking about killing a journalist. Now, of course, the Trump administration has no qualms about killing journalists or seeing journalists get killed. For example, Jamal Khashoggi over in, I think it was Istanbul, getting murdered by Saudi officials. Saudi hit squad. We knew that. That happened. And what did the Trump administration do? Nothing. By the way, has the Biden administration sanctioned them? No. Not at all. Oh, because of course the beloved Saudi Arabia. Oh, we can't make them mad. Oh no, of course not. Now, conversations were part of an unprecedented CIA campaign directed against WikiLeaks and its founder. The agency's multi-pronged plans included extensive spying on WikiLeaks associates, sowing discord among the group's members, stealing electronic devices. While Assange had been on the radar of U.S. intelligence agencies for years, these plans for an all-out war against him were sparked by WikiLeaks' ongoing publication of extraordinarily sensitive CIA hacking tools known collectively as Vault 7, which the agency ultimately concluded represented the largest data loss in CIA history. So I mentioned, again, the attacks against Assange and WikiLeaks first started when they did the collateral murder video in Iraq. And then, the Vault 7 stuff, that's where Pompeo and the CIA said, okay, we're taking the gloves off here. We are incredibly embarrassed. I guess we're going to have to murder him. What are you going to do? Trump's newly installed CIA director, Mike Pompeo, was seeking revenge on WikiLeaks and Assange. Pompeo and other top agency leaders were completely detached from reality because they were so embarrassed about Vault 7, said a former Trump national security official. Quote, they were seeing blood. Now, here's the thing. Again, it's insane that we're talking about a journalist acting in their capacity as a journalist and WikiLeaks as a publisher. Like him or not, that's what Assange and WikiLeaks was. And again, personally, I think Assange has said and done some things that are sketchy at best. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, why are you siding with the Trump administration, who obviously apparently wants you killed? But at the same time, again, they wanted to murder him. After Obama had basically had him locked up in the embassy since 2012. He couldn't leave. Now, I want to show you here how they tried to get around that designation of being a journalistic outlet. And it really involved reclassification of what WikiLeaks was considered to be and what journalists really were. So let's show you that. This is from 2017 at the Center for Strategic and International Studies.
WikiLeaks walks like a hostile intelligence service and talks like a hostile intelligence service. It has encouraged its followers to find jobs at the CIA in order to obtain intelligence. Time to call out WikiLeaks for what it really is: a non-state hostile intelligence service, often abetted by state actors like Russia. In January of this year, our intelligence community determined that Russian military intelligence, the GRU, had used WikiLeaks to release data of U.S. victims that the GRU had obtained through cyber operations against the Democratic National Committee. And the report also found that Russia's primary propaganda outlet, RT, has actively collaborated with WikiLeaks. Assange and his ilk make common cause with dictators today. Yes, they try unsuccessfully to cloak themselves and their actions in the language of liberty and privacy, but in reality, they champion nothing but their own celebrity. Their currency is clickbait, their moral compass non-existent, their mission, personal self-aggrandizement through destruction of Western values.
The destruction of Western values? You've got to be kidding me. And again, wait, I thought the Trump administration didn't believe in any of the Russia stuff. What are you talking about? And here you are, you're saying, oh, Russia, look at that. Oh, they're working for the Russians. We're working for the Russians. And again, you can have a nuanced opinion based on the factual information when it comes to Russiagate, right? So now, when it comes to that, for example, was there attempted interference in our elections through memes and bots and things like that? Yeah, there was. How effective that was, can't really gauge. I think that, again, the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton's to lose, and she lost. She was a very poor campaigner. Not very good at doing political campaigns and running those campaigns. And I've went through the numerous missteps of that campaign. I don't want to really kind of relitigate that there. But again, going to the hypocrisy of the Trump administration, saying, oh, Russia bad, Russiagate bad. But then saying, oh, look at this. We get to go after WikiLeaks and Assange because Russiagate. Interesting. Very interesting. But again, that is part of the plan to reclassify WikiLeaks from being a journalistic outlet to considered to be a foreign intelligence service, which it's not. Still, the Senate Intelligence Committee did make that decision that they should be considered a non-state hostile intelligence service, which then opened Julian Assange, opened up to surveillance, new levels of surveillance. Now, again, the Obama administration's policy was different than the Trump administration policy. Let me point that out by saying that if there's published works out there, it doesn't matter the venue, then we have to treat them as First Amendment protected individuals. This is a former senior counterintelligence official. There were exceptions to that rule. There were very, very, very few, and far in between. WikiLeaks, the administration decided, did not fit that exception. But for the Trump administration, again, they didn't really care all that much about the First Amendment. Reporters, schmorters, kill them all. If they embarrass us, if they embarrass the CIA, the beloved CIA, we must come for them. We must come for them. Far worse than what the Obama administration, who again was on the wrong side of this, far worse than the Obama administration, the Trump administration. So now, let me go further here to more in this story. So now after the 2016 election, when Trump's national security team took their positions in the government, the fundamental change in how WikiLeaks was viewed, said that former counterintelligence official. When it came to prosecuting Assange, something the Obama administration had declined to do, the Trump White House had a different approach. Going back, of course, to talking about the First Amendment. Well, nobody in that crew is going to be too broken up about the First Amendment issues. Shocker. Shocker. Is it any surprise, at all of a surprise, that the CIA director didn't care about journalism? Yeah. Again, they were embarrassed. By the summer of 2017, the CIA's proposals were setting off alarm bells to the National Security Council, saying that WikiLeaks was a complete obsession of Pompeo's, said a former Trump administration national security official. After Vault 7, Pompeo and Deputy CIA Director Gina Haspel, who, by the way, has a position inside the Biden administration, wanted vengeance on Assange. Gina Haspel ran torture black sites. Why is she in a Democratic administration? Why is she in the Biden administration? She's a war criminal. Good question. Good question. Maybe we ought to question Biden on that one. I would love to hear the answer of why this torturer is in our government right now, who tried to murder a journalist. Now, at meetings between the senior Trump administration officials after WikiLeaks started publishing the Vault 7 materials, Pompeo had begun discussing kidnapping Assange, according to 4 former officials. While the notion of kidnapping Assange preceded Pompeo's arrival at Langley, the new director championed the proposals, according to the former officials. Pompeo and others at the agency proposed abducting him from the embassy and surreptitiously bringing him back to the United States via a third country, a process known as rendition. The idea was to break into the embassy, drag Assange out, and bring him to where we want, said a former intelligence official. A less extreme version of the proposal involved U.S. operatives snatching Assange from the embassy and turning him over to British authorities, something, of course, the Brits were not in favor of. They said, no, we're not going to allow the CIA to do this operation in our country. Are you insane? And some discussions, as I mentioned, even went beyond kidnapping. U.S. officials had considered killing Assange, according to 3 former officials. One of those officials said he was briefed in a spring 2017 meeting in which the president asked whether the CIA could assassinate him and provide him options on how to do so. The fact that this was a discussion at all is just absolutely insane. But again, this is how much Pompeo, Haspel, and other people at the CIA hated Assange and really hated journalism overall. Now, of course, thankfully, none of that happened. But at the same time, we still allowed a journalist to be locked up in an embassy with nowhere to go for years and years. And I can understand why Assange would hate the U.S. government that much. Again, the Obama administration using the Espionage Act to go after these journalists, going after WikiLeaks, etc., and the Trump administration going even harder. Now the Biden administration keeping the same people in power and doing the same strategy. Understand that he's not getting a fair trial if he's extradited to the United States. And understand that this has never been about harm to the United States. In fact, I'm going to go to one former Trump national security official on this, saying, quote, "There was an inappropriate level of attention to Assange, given the embarrassment, not the threat he posed in context. We should never act out of a desire for revenge." It wasn't even about harm caused to the United States. It was always about the embarrassment. About the CIA wanting to get their revenge. You want to call WikiLeaks a hostile actor? What about the CIA? probably the biggest terrorist organization on the planet, the CIA. Yeah, I said it. And I mean it. 100%. How many coups have they orchestrated in other countries? Overthrow them for resources. Iran, big example right there. How many death squads have they empowered in other countries? How many people have they murdered? Quite a few. This would just have been another one. And thankfully, there were people in the National Security Council that were like, no, we can't do that. Nope. We're going to draw the line at that, at kidnapping and murder. I'm sorry for your, petty little feud against him that he embarrassed you, but we're not going to sanction murder in a journalist. It's going to cause way more problems in the end. And it would have been incredibly morally wrong. Now, furthermore, for my, in my view, I think we punished Assange enough. I should say he's been punished enough, having to live in an embassy for what, over a decade now? Now let the guy go. Let him go. He's a political prisoner at this point. He should be set free, not extradited back to the United States. That's it. I would advise you to read this article if you haven't already. It's very, very detailed, very clear. The Trump administration cared even less about whistleblowers than the Obama administration. In fact, it was, again, much, much worse for the First Amendment and for journalism as a whole. Great, great reporting from Isikoff and the rest. We got to protect journalists. Even if they report stories that are incredibly uncomfortable and embarrassing for the government, well, that's the whole job of a journalist. And so, yes, we should absolutely protect them and protect, whistleblowers and, try to make the government not use the Espionage Act, as they have been doing wantonly to these journalists for a long time, abusing that and trying to stop journalism from happening. All right. That's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for all the new follows. Thank you for staying with me most of the hour. Those of you on Twitch, I appreciate that. Thanks again, TYT, for the raid. Much appreciations. In fact, stay here. We're going to raid into another channel here. We should raid into Left Flank Vets, perhaps. That should be fun. Please like and share if you haven't already. Very important that you do so. It helps us out. And if you want to see more of the show, first go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WaldorfNation. You can follow us on Twitch, of course. We go live every day, 4 p.m. Eastern. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, all the wonderful different places where you can find us online and find our videos and all that stuff. Again, thank you so much for the follows. Thank you so much for the subs. I do appreciate it. Hey, it's September, so if you want to help out our channel on Twitch as well, you can do that, or you can become a member on our YouTube page. Again, go here, and there was read the super chat real quick before we go. Let me just pull that up and find it. That's always the most awkward part of the show. This stuff up. Gabby Mathis says, AZ Democrats trying to kick her out of the party if she does not vote for the bill. That, of course, is Kyrsten Sinema. So thank you, Gabby Mathis, for that very kind $5. All right, everybody. Start that raid. And thank you. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, everybody. See y'all tomorrow.
Wet-ass P-word. There's some boards in this house.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
celebrate.
Please clap.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
How you like that, boy?